Arya was 6 years old at her birthday party, surrounded by balloons and the two people she'd always known as Mom and Dad. That same year, they gently told her she was adopted, and that no matter what, she was completely, permanently theirs. 22 years later, Arya had built a quiet, content life as a photographer, though a small unanswered question always lingered in the back of her mind. For her birthday, her closest friend gave her a DNA testing kit, laughing, "Maybe it's finally time to see what's out there." She sent off the small sample without much expectation, tucking the thought away like she always had. Weeks later, the results arrived. Not just distant relative matches, but a strange note referencing a prior placement record. Unsettled, she called the adoption agency the next morning, unsure what prior placement could possibly mean. The caseworker gently explained. Before Margaret and Thomas, baby Arya had first been placed with another family, a placement that had been quietly disrupted. Arya felt an old, unfamiliar wave of confusion rise in her chest, something she had never known to grieve. That weekend, she drove to her parents' house and asked them, gently but directly, why they had never told her. Margaret explained softly, "We didn't want to hand you pain that wasn't yours to carry before you were ready. We always meant to tell you when the time was right." With her parents' blessing, Arya decided she needed to learn the rest of the story for herself. Through old agency records, she located the woman from that first placement, a woman named Ellen, and nervously reached out. Ellen agreed to meet, and the moment she saw Arya, her eyes filled instantly with tears. Ellen explained the truth gently. She and her husband had taken in baby Arya while their own child battled a serious illness and simply couldn't care for both. It wasn't rejection, Arya realized. It had been an impossible, heartbreaking sacrifice made by a family already stretched past their limit. Ellen pulled out an old photograph she had kept all these years, baby Arya wrapped in a blue blanket, held gently in her arms. In that quiet cafe, a complicated healing bond began to form between them. Curious about the rest of her DNA matches, Arya reached out to a woman listed as a likely half-sibling, Kate. Kate, it turned out, hadn't known about Arya's existence either, and was just as eager and nervous to meet. Over coffee, Kate shared what she knew. Their birth mother had passed away years earlier, but she brought old photographs and family stories. Arya learned their birth mother had been just 17, alone and without resources, when she made the adoption decision out of love, not indifference. Together, the sisters visited their birth mother's grave, standing quietly side by side. Arya realized she now carried threads of three families: the one that raised her, the one that almost did, and the one whose blood ran through her. She returned home to Margaret and Thomas with a fuller heart than she'd ever known, seeing them now with even deeper gratitude. "You didn't just raise me," Arya told them. "You chose me every single day for 22 years. That's not nothing. That's everything." A few weeks later, Arya gently invited Ellen to meet Margaret and Thomas, two families connected by the same small life. Kate, too, slowly became part of Arya's everyday life, a new sister showing up for ordinary Sunday dinners. Arya began quietly writing down her story, not for anyone else at first, just to finally understand it fully herself. On her next birthday, for the first time, everyone who had ever loved her sat around the same table. Later that night, alone on the porch, Arya looked up at the stars and finally let the old, unanswered question rest. she realized home had never been one single place or one bloodline. It was every person who had chosen, again and again, to hold on to her. She framed the old photograph Ellen had given her, placing it beside a new one, the whole unlikely family, together at last. Arya's life hadn't started with one simple story, but every version of it had led her exactly here, surrounded by people who chose her. Moral: home isn't defined by blood or by a single choice. It's built by everyone who chooses to love you, again and again.